Hello, my name is Olayinka Iyinolapo. I'm the founder of CDIAL Limited. CDIAL stands for Center for Digitization of Indigenous African Languages, but we like to call it CDIAL. And what we do at CDIAL is, simply put, digitizing local languages and localizing digital platforms. The idea is looking at the space that we live in Nigeria. Nigeria has over 200 million people, projected to have 400 million people in about 20 years. Now, the question is, everything now across the world is done through digital devices powered by the internet. Do we get everybody to learn English and French, the languages that are dominant on the internet? Yes, we can get people to be bilingual, but most importantly, I think that people deserve a chance to be able to access the internet and access opportunities and information in whatever language that they speak, even if they can't read and write. And so that was what birthed the idea is making the internet inclusive, and how it's possible in this era and not 5 or 10 years ago is through the phenomenon called artificial intelligence and the strength at which it has these days. The market, has been great towards us, but also it can grow more. I think that people sometimes are slower to change, but even over the past 6 months, maybe even 3 months, the world that has even been more accepting of the internet has gravitated towards AI the most, particularly with the release of something called ChatGPT, that somewhat in the future would eradicate certain jobs. But by it eradicating certain jobs because of the power of AI doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means that it would even help people be more productive. And with tools like that, has helped people see what AI can do. And imagine if you can do that in Igbo. So there's so many historical things that are in the history of the country. So many lessons to be learned, can be transferred from one generation to another. We do not believe that all information, all wisdom comes in English. We believe that intelligence comes in any language. And if the internet is able to speak whatever language that a person understands, then they can thrive. Let me give you an example. We've been making some headway in education. Recently, a federal government policy talked about primary schools, teaching children in their mother tongue, of course, in combination with English. And that has been a huge market and potential for us. And beyond that, also for businesses trying to reach out to new customers, I think that has helped us as well as a company, because by them localizing their information, localizing their services, it means that they earn more trust with customers, particularly the ones in suburban and rural areas. We are only 1% in, because in the end, there are at least 560 Nigerian languages. There are over 2,000 African languages. Right now, we have started to digitize about 5 to 10 languages. And when I say started, it means that there's so much wealth of knowledge in each of those languages that cannot be done in 1 year or in 2 years. But the great thing is that as we continue to digitize these native languages, right, it opens our eyes into more things. And as we continue to apply it to solve problems in education, in healthcare, financial literacy, we would continue to grow as a business. So what I'm trying to say is, the opportunities are endless. So it's difficult to quantify, how far we have done for the space. But as a company, I think that we're doing fantastically well. We've grown a lot in the past 1 year of our existence. We've been able to create jobs for people that the community will sometimes laugh at and say, you studied Yoruba, you studied this one. We've created jobs for linguists, for enthusiasts. We created opportunities for the businesses that we work with, and we're very proud of that. And the great thing is that we can do more and more across the Nigerian community and Africa as a continent. Because what's important for us is this: we're a social impact organization, and we realize that the solution to Africa's problem would be made in Africa. So we're approaching it from a multi-dimensional position, rooted in inclusion and the language that people speak. Okay, we're a company that in less than a year, we employ more than about 15 people full-time. And we have something called the CDIAL tribe. We have about up to 1,000 people who are volunteers who sort of contribute their language knowledge, and their knowledge in other cultural artifacts. And in the next couple of months, rather in the next few weeks, we'll be releasing one of the things that the CDIAL tribe help us put together, which are our volunteers. But most importantly, with that, we hope to then extend their skills to even more and more companies, more and more people, and create jobs. At least some of them already have jobs, create part-time jobs for some, full-time jobs for others, to continue to contribute their knowledge of the language and their passion for the language across. But also in the next few years, in the next 3 years, us as a company hope to employ up to about 150, 200 people. And employing 100 to 200 people means that we're able to empower thousands of people through the families of these people. We're proud of that, and we hope that we're able to even scale faster and larger than that and create jobs across the continent.
Okay.
It's hard to say. What I would say that I'm sure of is that we're the only ones doing the thing, doing it the way that we're doing it. Across Africa, there are many language companies, doing translation services, and they're doing fantastic things. There are many, even in Nigeria, the language companies, they are AI companies, but no one quite has the mix of how we are putting together artificial intelligence and using it to not only learn our local languages, but then propagate it. And nobody has our vision. Every company has its own vision. But what's more important is to know that the landscape is big enough. I mentioned the millions and millions of people who live in the country and billions who live across the continent. So competition is good. We accept competition because in the end, it not only would validate what we're doing, but also it would help, like I said, we're a social impact company. So it would help help the African people better. And the issues across Africa are multidimensional. And if somebody else comes to tackle this challenge from another angle, it would be great. But for us, there are lots of competition that we of course compete with in the market, but also we collaborate with to make things better. We have a profit projection, but for us, we do not only calculate or project profit in how much we're able to empower ourselves with. We project in how many people we're able to employ and how much impact the products that we are releasing in the next, that we've released in the past and that we're releasing in the next few months is able to contribute to people. But when it has to do with the figures and money, that is not our motivation. I believe that in this interview, I've said more than once or twice. Our social impact company, and we hope that in the next 5 years that we will be able to introduce the internet to the next 1 billion people. Yeah, here's what I mean. My father lives in a remote part of the country, and so do a huge or half the population of the country, and they are not proficient English speakers. Our profit would be a situation where these people are able to interact with mobile devices and the internet using their local languages, and many of these people can't type. So imagine a situation where in the next 6 months to 1 year, a person is able to pick up a phone and say, "Oh, Eloni bank, Eloni account balance me," right? And they are able to use banking devices or banking services with their voice. That is profit to us. If somebody who's feeling sick is able to, or if 10,000 people who are feeling sick are able to find help on the internet by using their mobile devices or the mobile device in the community, just by speaking their local language to it, speaking Hausa, speaking Ibibio to it, that is profit to us. So we have that projection, and it's something that we're hoping to achieve with each and every product that we're putting out in the next few months. Many things. We're motivated initially by the dream to see Africa grow organically, to see Africa love itself, love its culture, and grow. And recently, of course, that might have been bogus. Recently, with the works that we've put out, with how we've been able to help companies and the value that they've derived from it, it gives us more motivation to know that if we continue to create products, create devices, create interfaces, browsers, whatever we're able to create, that empowers people to search the internet and to find information. That's the motivation that we find. But for example, Nigeria is in a political cycle where most of the population are still heavily misinformed. Our motivation is that after this election, we're doing what we can in this one, but by even the next election cycles, that people are more informed, that can find democratic information and find access to information and to less fake news in the future, because they're able to access it themselves rather than hearsay. So that is our motivation, to continue to contribute to the society, help people learn, help them find better living, and largely to contribute towards the sustainable development goals, particularly no poverty in our society. My child, I wish you both these. The challenges are multidimensional. The challenges come from, of course, every startup would have challenges with funding, would have challenges with an enabling environment that is able to thrive in, challenges with skill sometimes, and what we like to say, the Jackpot wave, where a lot of people are looking for greener pastures, so it causes some attrition sometimes with the workforce, and the challenges with the markets, because inflation and challenges with businesses. We're a B2B business largely, and even in our B2C activities, with the inflation and economic challenges across the world, and even particularly in Nigeria, would affect revenue. But as we are as a company, we have an experienced team, and we're able to just ideate together and find new ways to motivate people to pick up our services and to keep using them. We're able to find new ways to get funding to accelerate our business. and we're in the path. We're enjoying the grind. We're enjoying the challenges, and we're trying to surmount them and documenting the process, just so that we can help other people in the future to know how to go through this path less with less rigor and more seamlessly.
You prosper, but when you look around at all the
it's double-edged. The first take is that it's hard because we're losing the best minds to many parts of the world. And many of these people, listening to them, sometimes do not want to return because they have faced certain challenges and they feel that, they just want to survive and be in certain places in the world and stay alive with their families. On the other hand, I think it's a good thing. I think that many populous countries all over the world always have their citizens in different places all over the world. China, India. China is a prosperous country. A lot of people always use it and use their parameters to test how development works. There are Chinese people all over the world thriving. In many cities across the world, you will see Chinatown, you will see Japantown, Koreatown. If the country is great, or at least doing well, but they're still emigrating and going to different places in the world. So what I hope is that as we japa, that we would not just japa just for survival of our person. I believe that we're now in it's cliche, but we're now in a global village where even if you japa, wherever you're going, whether Canada or London, that we can form a community of Nigerians and we can hold on to our culture. Of course, do things better. Now we can form a force large enough that and strong enough that in the future we're able to contribute to help grow the continent. That we do not only think about ourselves and the survival of the person or only the family. Of course, that's important. But that after they've ensured that survival, that we're able to come together and then create a force to not only better Nigeria as a country, but to improve the outlook of how people see Nigeria. So if you're doing legitimate business, do the best that you can do. Come together, form a club and form, an association where you can improve the status of how people see Nigerians, how people see Black people, how people see Africans. And I believe that people have that responsibility. If you want to japa, fine, but you need to have that responsibility to represent us well wherever you go.
successful people in history, they are all great readers.
Two policies that I'm happy about. The first is the startup bill. Of course, it was passed. It was assented by the president late last year. We're hoping to see how it will benefit us because many of us startups operating hubs, hoping it will benefit us and put less pressure on us for taxation early. That we will be able to have access to finances without them asking us to go bring this and bring that. That will be able to access it in a hub where our growth will be monitored, and they will recognize that software businesses operate differently to cement businesses. So that's just an analogy, but I'm hoping that the startup bill will be beneficial and that some people would not, during its implementation, it would not be sabotaged. The other bill recently that I heard of is the one for teaching children in mother tongue. I think it's important, but also is multidimensional. For example, children in cities, their parents in cities where in a class there are 5 kids from Anambra, 2 from Lagos, 4 from Kano. That might be difficult for a teacher to teach these children, in all their mother tongue. So we recognize that in those sort of situations, it would not be that easy. But in suburban and rural areas that the culture is homogeneous, I think that it's important that we know that knowledge is not English, right? That knowledge can be passed in every language, in Russians, Chinese. There are many people who are thriving all over the world and can barely speak a sentence of English, and they're thriving in fields that are important. So it's important for us to know that we can translate and we can repurpose our language, to teach these people. And there's a policy for it, but its implementation is key. One of the things that we are doing on our own part to facilitate its implementation is, in the next few weeks, we have a dictionary coming out, a dictionary of modern words, which is, our languages haven't grown to say, what is a drone? What is artificial intelligence? How do you describe internet? How do you describe a mouse, a keyboard, setting basic digital devices to a kid in Igbo or in Hausa? We through our collective intelligence and our CDIAL tribe that I mentioned to you earlier, we've been able to put together some words. Those will not be permanent words, but at least they're alternatives. So that's we're trying to push these policies. It would come into play. The government policies that we struggle with, I won't say it's a policy really. I would just say that we need ease. We need maximum ease of doing business, because government cannot create all the jobs that we need. We understand that the government is doing their best. They can't create all the jobs in society, right? No government across the world creates all the jobs. They need to enable startups like ourselves to create jobs. But if we are able to create those jobs, then we're able to empower families, and they don't have to worry about providing huge safety nets, not only safety net, but creating day-to-day jobs for them, because they've empowered us to create the job. So I would say that ease of doing business is very, very critical to us, and government can do better to help us achieve that.
You see, they read and they work hard.
I've got lots of them in different facets. They might not be directly applicable to what I do at the moment. I've got role models in sports. I like Muhammad Ali. I like LeBron James, people who were excellent for a long time. They're people that I look up to, and they've been excellent and carry themselves well in whatever they did for a long time. I like a writer called Kai Fuli, because he's able to think and envision of a better world, and put it into words to inspire people. In Nigeria, I would say my role model is a man called Olayinka Iyinolapo. He's the CEO of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, and also someone who has worked in business and capital markets and has grown companies, and is a mentor of mine, someone that I listen to on how to even grow this business. Because in the end, for us to do what we need to do, we need to learn from people who have come before us, so that we can do it even better and create a better nation.
Nowadays, you like things to go easy for you, and I don't know.
I would say a few things. I would say that number one is to self-evaluate. You might want to venture into entrepreneurship, but there's always the right time for it. And some people also say there's not the right time for it. So you need some knowledge so that you don't learn the hard way. Some entrepreneurs have to go take up a 9-to-5 job to learn processes, right? Because in the end, strategy might be great, but culture is greater. So to go learn the culture of building something great, some people might need to go do that for 1 year, 2 years, learn that, and then suck that whole, not only inspiration, but knowledge in, and go and create yours. So some people are born leaders. All they have to just do is do courses, read, get mentors, get a board that would guide them, get co-founders that would guide them. But I would say that the most important thing is to self-evaluate, be honest with yourself, know where you are at, and then use that as a starting point to be what you need to be. I would also say that know what your strengths are. Your strengths might be hustling, or your strengths might be creation, and find people around you who can support in things that you lack, or the things that you're not great at, at, or you'd rather not invest your time in at the moment, just so that the power of 3 or the power of 10 is greater than the power of 1. And for us to grow real sustainable companies in not only Lagos, in the nation, we need to stop thinking about one-man business. We need to start thinking about self. Greatest companies in the world were created by collaboration and not by self, not by an overlord over the rest of the people. So collaboration, knowing yourself, and trying again. Failure is part of entrepreneurship. So no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you can always try again. And even if you learn the number 1, which is self-evaluate, at some point you might know or notice that you need to pivot. So if you self-evaluate and you evaluate the business, you might know that you need to pivot towards another angle that would help you and help your business survive. I can go on and on, but those are the things that I think are very important.
I don't know when you read, you go about all day pressing.
I would say, because it's a summit, so many discussions will be had from different angles, from different companies who operate in different markets. I would say a unitary thing to discuss is structures, right? How to create structures within existing hubs or the new types of hubs that would come around that would help as startup less startups fail. It will help less startups fail, which is what structures can we create based on risk, based on maintaining finances, based on building teams. There's been a lot of layoffs in the past 6 months. Of course, it's across the world. There's been a lot of challenges with the crypto sector. There's been a lot of challenges in the agro sector with certain, characters that have not ended themselves very well, covered themselves with a lot of grace. So how can we create structures that would make sure that startups are less volatile and that they're able to achieve their goals? How can we create tools and lessons and trainings and retrainings so that people would be able to build sustainably? And most importantly is, how do we create jobs? Because if we continue to create jobs, which we have, how do we continue to create jobs would be a great discussion to have. Because if we continue to create jobs, more people are fed, more people have liberty, have finances in their hands, and are able to grow as people, and are able to even start up their own businesses in the future and create more startups. So those are some conversations that can be had. Of course, conversations can happen around the fiscal sector, the monetary sector. The monetary sector can do better because most startups want to operate beyond Nigeria, to the forex challenges, and hey, there are many things that we discuss every day that can be better and that can help startups do better. But I feel that we're on the right path as startups. I feel that this summit would be very excellent to even deepen the conversation on best practices that many startups are practicing, so that others can learn. And as we learn, I'm always open to learning. Many of my colleagues are founders in different businesses are always open to learn, so that we can all learn and then adopt into our business, either this one or even businesses that we find in the future.
Your phones, and I don't know how you passed your examination.
I would say just check out our website. We have a waiting list for our products there. Our website is www.cdial.co. We have a product coming out soon. We have a dictionary coming out soon. After that dictionary, we have a product coming out soon. We hope that all your audiences will be able to sign up for it and use it and buy as necessary. We hope that they will contribute to what we're doing in the ecosystem. The other thing I would like to say is thank you for the interview and for doing this for the sector, because it's very important for us to share our ideas, to talk about what we do, and it's on the path of growing. When you're able to talk about what you do, when you're able to know your shortcomings and know your strengths, it's very critical what you're doing. And I want to say thank you very much to you as well.
Of course, I read and do all my reading on my phone. Down from the time when man was breaking stones and hunting games, things have continued to be easier. Easy does it that. All those books are now in e-copies, soft copies, easy to read and download. Is it not just to be rich? I know tomorrow will be easier than today.
You mean Facebook is your book? Oh my God, where